This is a how to use your calculator for solving for ice charts without using the 5% rule. And this sheet that I have here shows the long steps, the processes needed to solve for your ice charts or your equilibrium expressions and your concentrations without using the 5% rule. And again, you're always going to be allowed to use the 5% rule, but some of you may, since you have a calculator like this, might want to find the actual value, and this is a pretty nice calculator. What I have here is a Casio FX115ES, and actually a student showed me how to correctly use this calculator. I wasn't aware of all of its functions that it possessed, and it's a pretty neat calculator. You could probably buy one at Walmart, Target for less than $20. I think I got mine at Target. And it's a pretty neat calculator. Now, I do have another one that's kind of got a blue front, but it doesn't have the same functionality as this one. The thing that you'll want to notice is that it has a calc button or a solve button. If you're looking for a calculator like this, you definitely want to look for that if you can't remember the number. Okay, so talking about how to type this information in to solve for x is pretty neat. And again, I don't ever want to take away from the skills that you really should have, especially in a class like this where you have to know how to do high math or have high math skills and be able to do some pretty amazing things, especially if you plan on going into physics or calculus. This is not a bad calculator to have. But let me demonstrate how to type all this information in and get the true value that you can get by using the long algebra or using a quadratic equation. Okay, so the first thing that I highly recommend whenever working out a problem like this, still set up an ice chart. You want to have an ice chart. Ice charts are for organizational purposes. They do a great job to keep you out of trouble, especially when you're in a rush. Sometimes we might forget something that's just very, very easy to put into an ice chart. And it might be something as easy as a plus or minus sign, or however many based on the coefficient. So do an ice chart. All right, then once you have your ice chart, be sure to set up your expression, write your expression correctly, and then plug in your values at equilibrium into this expression and then solve. And I'm going to show how to get the value by typing this in, the x squared, this point right here. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is, let me get the calculator set correctly here so that you can see it, is you want to make sure that you're in the right mode. So you want to go shift mode, and this number 1 where it says math IO. I honestly don't know what math IO is, but that's what you want to be in. So then hit 1 to get into that mode, and from that then we can do a lot of things like actually put the division line that shows the numerator and denominator, so I can type these values in as is. So let's go ahead and let me show you how to do that. Parentheses, and then to get an x, I have to hit alpha, and then the right parenthesis for this calculator gives me the x, close the parentheses, and then square that. Now to get to the denominator, toggle down, or down key, whatever you want to call that. Open up the parenthesis, type in 0.5 minus 2, and then since we're looking for x again, the variable, alpha, and then get that x, close the parenthesis, square that, and then right toggle, and we need to put an equal sign in, but what we don't want to do is we do not want to hit this equal sign right here, because then that would give us an answer that the calculator would not be able to solve for. So what we need to do is we need to hit alpha, and then equal sign, so that gives us that. And then we're going to put what our k is, so 4.1 times 10 to the negative 4. Okay, so now we have our equation set up the way that we want, and now let's solve. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit shift calc, which is the solve right there, and then you need to hit the equal sign, and it'll take a second or two. And it comes up with the answer. So 9.73018858 times 10 to the third. And if you look at what I have on both of these, I have a very similar value. So I did round on that one. Okay, let's turn the page over and look at the next example. Okay, here you're given amounts for the reactant and one of the products. So again, set up your ice chart in the same way. Plug in your values. I'm going to type it from here. I'm going to solve for x from this spot right here. Now you'll notice that there's a pretty long, detailed way of doing this. So you need to do the algebra, then the quadratic equation. Okay, so we'll get that set there. All right, so let's type that in. So clear that all out. We're still in the same mode, and I'm going to type that in. So get the button where you have the numerator and denominator. Open up the parentheses. Here I have 0.25, and I'm going to add to x, so alpha x, close the parentheses. And then open up another set of parentheses, and the calculator knows that it's multiplying, so open the parentheses, and then alpha x, close the parentheses. So you can type it in just as you see it. Toggle down, open up the parentheses. Here we have 0.5 minus 2x, so alpha x there. And this is squared, so we need to close the parentheses and square that. Right toggle, get your equal sign, and then 4.1 times 10 to the negative 4. So we have everything typed in. So now we can solve. So now you go Shift, Solve, and then hit your equal sign. That's the answer from the last one. I don't know why the calculator does that. Hit equal, takes a second or two, and there's your answer. So we've got 4.07997, and if you look on here, I've got the same thing. So we have 4.07997 times 10 to the negative 4. Hope this has helped. It's a really neat calculator. Again, I've always been pushing for Casios. The Japanese make a very nice product, and it's a very reasonably priced calculator as well.